When I was a little girl growing up, I didn't realize that my grandmother was actually an alcoholic. And it was oftentimes like a family joke. Kind of like, when I broke my arms when I was 5 from the fall out the window or the drop. Everything that was serious in this family was like a family joke. Anyway, I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and I had an Aunt Helen who wasn't really my aunt, but back then everybody was aunt and uncle. It was kind of a respect thing. Aunt Helen owned grocery stores. Once a month, the guy who used to clean or wax, rather, my grandmother's floors in the house would come. And it was an all-day event. His name was Lucien. I really liked him. He was quite funny. And so he'd come and he'd start working and we'd have to go along our merry way. I love this once a month adventure because what we would do is go to this really posh department store. I would get to be dressed up like one of the ladies and they would have a liquid lunch and I would have my Shirley Temples and chicken in a basket with honey and these French fries. Like, it's such a good memory, mostly. And then we would do a little shopping, go to the grocery store. My Aunt Helen would put me in the cart, pile the stuff on top of me, and they'd be laughing and giggling and looking back quite loudly, laughing and giggling. And I would be just the happiest person ever. Get out of the grocery store. They're so toasted they can't find the car. And I'm laughing about it, but think about that. They're putting themselves and this little girl in this car when they do eventually find it. And I kind of remember the drive home as well, and none of that was good. We would get home late because they couldn't find the car. Lucien would be waiting, tapping his foot because he can't leave until he gets paid and he needs to lock the house or they have to lock the house, that whole thing. How many of you have memories like that? Like, that's actually the family joke that could have turned deadly. And I feel very fortunate that it didn't. And I know there'll be some people who go, oh, back then they didn't know better. That goes along the lines with back then they didn't know not to abuse their children. That's a line of garbage. They did know better. They just didn't care. Nobody addressed the real things that were going on in the house because nobody wanted to change their behavior or take ownership of them. So let's just be clear on that one. Anyway, how many of you too? Show of hands?